is up, grinders? Welcome to a UFC 302 special crunch time before lock. I am your host, Mike Brown, aka H3 Buddha, here with the rocking out, ready for a small slate. He's not gonna like the small slate. Blender, HD Blender, Jordan Cooper. What are we looking at? Hey, 2 5-round fights. That makes the slate a little bit better, right? Top to bottom, not the best names. And a lot of trustworthy fighters, I don't know. I mean, we don't have a lot of strong plays, I would say, that have a lot of trust behind. Because Alex Morono, for instance, near 3-1 favorite over Nico Price. That's a volatile fight. It's type of slate it is.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a 12-fight card isn't like a small card, but is on the smaller side. And of course, looking at the two main contextual variables that you want that you look at for what's the more probable optimal lineup. It's the size of the card and the spreads of the fights. So like the size of the card is on the smaller side, which means, especially in the underdogs, I mean, we'll talk about it. Getting 6 wins is a pretty big deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't mind, especially if you're playing small field. Like if you're playing small field today, I would optimize for get 6 wins and you're probably pretty good. But the spreads of the fights are also really wide. So, I mean, we have a lot of 70+%, 75, 80% win probability fighters, which means that the optimal lineup is more likely to use most of the salary. We don't see possibly many, if any, underdogs winning today. It's much more likely that a losing fighter ends up making the optimal lineup. But of course, when it comes to optimal lineup, it depends on the size of contest that you're playing. So if you're playing the large field contest, because there's so many more entries, it's much more likely that the optimal lineup ends up being the winning lineup. In smaller field contests, not so much. You're playing the 555. You don't need the optimal lineup typically. And if you're playing like Squirrel Patrols at the live final, 15 people in it, 15 entries, he said yesterday that the live final winner had 2 losses last year.
Wow.
So so I look at this, the 2 5-round fights. This is my take, if you want to call it. If you want to have a shot at winning the large field contest solo, or at least under 5 dupes, you're doing one of 2 things. One, you're playing multiple underdogs, like multiple low underdogs. Like you're building kind of barbell lineups. Like if you're going to play Grant Dawson, you're going to play Mickey Gall with him. If you're going to play Hafez, you're going to play Romanov. You're going to take shots on these extreme underdogs, and probably 2 or even 3 of them less likely to be duped.
Let me jump in. I actually agree. The 3-3 build, right? This today makes some sense.
Well, I'm not doing it because
You're not going to do it.
You didn't wait for my second thing.
I can't wait to hear the second part.
Well, the second part is easy. We have 2 5-round fights. Islam Makhachev is 9,500. Sean Strickland is 8,800. I think they're both going to be 50+% owned, right? I think Strickland will end up being the highest owned fighter on the slate because of their prices. It's not like it's a 50% owned fighter that's 8,200 and another 50% owned fighter that's 8,500. You can make a lot of combinations without salary. But once you plug in a $9,500 fighter and an $8,800 fighter, like, good luck. How many, like, you remove so many combinations, and even combinations where you're leaving 1,000 on the table. And the more and more you're leaving on the table, the more and more you're playing like 3 massive underdogs. So those lineups may not be as duped, right? A lineup with Makhachev, Strickland, and then 3 big underdogs and leaving 2K on the table. I'm not playing those lineups. But the easiest way for me, doing one of those 2 things, either you're playing 2 or 3 bigger underdogs, or you did what I did. I'm playing 60 lineups. I don't have Islam and Strickland in any lineup together.
That's
because
to me,
if Makachev and Strickland are optimal. I'm perfectly fine spending a slate wishing congratulations to the 170 people that split first place. So like that's
Aren't the
just that's
first
the way that's
clicks?
the way I play. I mean, if you're in smaller field contests, it's you'll find combinations of Makachev Strickland that may not be heavily duped. So that's more of a small field type of thing. But the easiest way to me is just group them out: Islam, Strickland, and for me personally, I'm playing 60 lineups, and I barely have any Islam. I think I have 3 lineups with Islam.
Yeah, I mean, someone in chat J3 says, tell Blender you can play whoever he wants. Absolutely. It's MMA. We've seen it how many times and time again that big underdogs will come through. And, Dustin Poirier, biggest underdog on the slate.
I heard Liam's take. Liam thinks that Poirier is going to win this fight.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think of paths of victory. I mean, he could win a boxing match, maybe, right? Maybe the more power is on Makachev's side. Maybe he wins with that patented guillotine. He jumps the guillotine. But what do you and I want? We want him to jump the gilly. Makachev gets top position, and he plays the bongos. That just compiles.
I'm not playing Islam, so I don't.
I know, but
to be fair, let me just be clear. Liam doesn't necessarily think Poirier is going to win this fight. He just thinks that the fight should be lined more like Islam being like a minus 250 favorite rather than a minus 650 favorite. So it's not just like he just thinks that Poirier has a much better shot than the line suggests.
For sure, and that's what we look for. Yeah, I think the other starting point here would be Cesar Almeida, the slight value, right? Like the money had just come in on him through the week from Monday. I think Tuesday he became a favorite. I don't look at these ones. It's just this much line value. You're not talking about a minus 200 at underdog odds, but I do think that when you talk about those builds of Makachev, Strickland's, that's how people start their lineups. The next click, what's it going to be? Oh, there's a minus 120 priced at 8K. I think it's somewhat quote unquote trappy this week, but the pricing tight, it does make sense because like this guy, even a second round win might be optimal. So I'm concerned by that.
Well, I think the mid-price fighters have more of a. I mean, if we don't get any underdogs winning, I mean, getting 85 points out of like an 8K or $8,200 fighter, maybe fine. I'm not a big fan of the fight. I think it's more likely to go the distance. It's more likely to be a kickboxing fight. So, I mean, I'd rather play Kopylov over Almeida just because of ownership, but I'm not necessarily too hot on the. It seems like play Almeida in cash games or something like that. Like because 8,000, even 85. I mean, if one underdog wins, it ain't going to be optimal. Like that. That's just the way it is. And I think more people are gonna end up on these Almeida's row. I think Almeida, Rowe, Zaleski dos Santos, and Edwards, and obviously Costa. Like
Edwards is a weird one though, Blender. Edwards falls into that could get taken down, could get controlled, and then win that weird type of decision where she has a couple more significant strikes than her opponent, or take over late when her opponent gasses out. Like that one, I thought you'd be interested in Edwards because if she wins early against Perez, killing off that grappling upside, this is a weird slate. Let me also break it down as there's a lot of grapplers on this slate. I'm surprised you didn't really kind of lead with that, to be fair. Because
no, well, I mean, I'm leading with lineup construction first because playing lineups with multiple underdogs is just like these. I mean, it's tough. So I'm looking for. I like grappling upside and win equity. So to me, I mean, based on our sims, Makachev is going to be the most over-owned fighter on the slate compared to his optimal rate. Number 2, that the most under-owned fighter on the slate, it's the one that I have the most exposure to, is Eileen Perez at 8,700 because of that grappling upside, and with her plus 305 inside the distance line, I mean we have her at like 29% owned. I don't think she comes anywhere close to that. Because once you start playing lineups with Strickland and Makachev, and if you're not playing Makachev, you're playing Almeida or Hafez, or you're throwing in a Holland, or you're playing Andre Lima underneath her, like it forces you to, like, if you want to play multiple of these people, like you're playing Mickey Gall in a lineup, you're playing Ola Jachuk in a lineup, you're playing Roman, you're playing guys Selecki that you really don't want. I don't want to play. So these, like, I like the mid-range fighters that have paths to 100+ points, and I think in this range, my favorite two are Arlene Perez and Andre Lima. Andre Lima is a minus
We're on the
300
same
favorite
page.
against, right, a late minute replacement, Mitch Raposo making his debut.
It's
I don't
it's
rate him all
difficult
that
though.
well.
Like that's my problem is seeing Lima and Perez right side by side, $100 difference, because I look at them as somewhat of the same play. Because Lima, like you just said, late notice, Raposo in front of him. What does Raposo do? He pushes the pace in a lot of his fights. He'll go for takedowns, which means Lima can score more as he's pushing that pace. Whether he stops the takedown, he's teeing off, getting a lot of significant strikes. Perhaps he gets top position, then you're getting a bunch of points on that. And then, like you said, built in if Raposo kind of gasses down the stretch. But it's a little bit reverse for Perez. Remember Perez's last time? I don't know if you remember that. She dominates the first 2 rounds and then absolutely gasses it. When we say gasses out, her face was swelling up, and she got lucky to even win the first 2 and not get drawed in a 10-8 third round. So
yeah, but I'm playing her for the upside and the upside versus the ownership. So, like, to me, I'm not playing. I mean, it's GPPs.
Yeah,
like, I'm not playing for median results,
but
and that's why, like, I look at this range and I'm like Randy Brown, Jake Matthews, Alex Morono. I think Kevin Holland. I mean, he's 9K, so it's not like he's that mid range. Like, I mean, Lima's going to be popular, so Lima's going to be probably 30 to 35% owned.
But no one wants to play Raposo. Nobody wants to play Raposo.
Yeah, but I don't think. I mean, he's overpriced. I mean, Raposo really should be like 7,200, and he's not.
He could stall out the scoring in the first, and then, we've seen it happen before where a guy comes out hot, gets the control time in the first as an underdog. That's his path of victory, right? And then he just gets smoked in the second, but not smoked enough for fantasy relevance. It's a weird one where there's a few fights where I think there's some wrestling and grappling that will negate itself. I think identifying those type of spots on this slate is very important. Like those, the Dawsons, the Hafiz, I would say Almeida. I'll group Almeida in there. If Romanov negates some of the wrestling there, those 3 fights are so integral to the slate, because I could see a dominant 3-round performance out of one of those guys that scores 1 million points. And then I could see exactly what I just said. They just end up, one guy gets to take down the first round, second round, the other guy gets to take down. And Blender and I are going, what are we doing here? Do you agree those 3, like Dawson, Hafiz, and Almeida fights?
No, I agree. And I mean, I'm the most confident in probably Almeida over Romanov. I mean, Romanov beat the crap out of, guys like Chase Sherman, but I mean, like when you have no answer for Marcin Tybura, I don't think Romanov was good. Romanov is good in the way that when you're a heavyweight and that you could wrestle in any degree, you're gonna win. You're gonna win some fights, and he's gonna win against the bottom of the barrel. Obviously on the feet, I mean, it's heavyweight. Anyone has a chance on the feet, but Almeida is. I mean, outside of what happened against Blades, where he kind of just gassed out or whatever in the second round. I mean, he had 8-9 takedowns. I mean,
and Romanov isn't one hitter quitter. Let's kind of be honest here. I think people think that that's how it could happen, right? If Romanov wins, it would make me go crazy if Romanov just knocks him out quick in the first. Like, right, I just really don't see that.
I mean, he's really not known for his striking. It's really more for wrestling. And I give Almeida better. I mean, I think this line is right. Almeida should be a minus 350 favorite here. And had Almeida beaten Blades, he would have been even minus 1,000 here possibly. Hafez is the one that has the least amount of experience. So like he was an underdog his last fight out, and now he's a minus 400 favorite against Mickey Gall. But then, you have to realize he's facing Mickey Gall. So, like, I understand why.
Who did
Like,
Mickey
Mickey
Gall
Gall,
face once? The
CM
best in
Punk.
the world. CM
Yes.
Punk. And it's amazing because I feel like Gall is like somewhat of an X factor and listen to this, that he could have been the only guy on this slate that's improved over his time off. But at the same time, he
Or it
never
could
was
be the,
good. It could just
Mike,
be that he just doesn't have any skill base.
it could just be that that this event is in New Jersey and they needed someone to have some type of name value for the card.
Name
And Mickey
value.
Gall may not be may not be doing anything for 2 years and injuries and everything. I mean, the only positive thing for Gall is that Hafez is more likely to grapple him than strike, and Gall has much more susceptibility on his chin. I could see Gall getting a submission victory on a reversal or something like that, but I think this fight is mostly going to be Hafez just trying to take multiple takedowns for 3 rounds and then winning a decision type of thing. I prefer Hafez over Gall, but I wouldn't call you crazy for playing. I don't think you're crazy for playing any of the underdogs under Costa, but
Mhm.
like these are I don't feel good about any of them. In fact, the underdog I feel the best about, and in a weird and understand my reasoning here,
Did
is
I
Paulo
tag him?
Costa.
Oh,
No,
okay, good. All right.
Paulo Costa. He's the underdog that I have the most of, and also understand that I also have a lot of Strickland. I think there's a very good I mean, on this slate, based on the spreads, that Costa at 7,400. Strickland fight probably goes 5 rounds. I mean, Costa putting up 65 points in a loss. I'm
We've seen
more
crazier
likely.
things.
No,
I
I'm more
I
likely to think that Costa's 65-point loss ends up being optimal than anyone underneath him winning. Right? I'm just looking. It's
yeah.
like I have more Nico Price than any of the other underdogs
He's got
underneath Costa.
he's got upside. Well, that's the thing. I feel like if you're going to look under Costa, there's really only one that has come out guns blazing, take you out in the first, because Mikey O doesn't do that. Romanov could negate itself with wrestling or gets controlled. Selecki, same thing, could get controlled, get knocked out in the first. We know Poirier could just go for the gilly and be on bottom in the first. And we just talked about Gall, who, could get clipped or get controlled in the first. Nico Price has that upside. And I like that call of potentially Costa getting there, maybe in a loss. I don't want to say it that way, but there was a slate last year. Okay. I've been looking at the slate all week and I'm like, oh no, is this the Alexa Grasso slate all over, where it is one underdog won and it was a 5-round underdog. And even if she had lost that fight, she probably would have been optimal because of the scoring ability over those 5 rounds.
That doesn't make me want to play Poirier.
No, I'm saying Costa. I'm backing you up with your Costa play.
A lot of lineups will look like that. But the thing about Nico Price, I think Nico Price is done. I think Nico Price, I have no confidence.
What does he have, 8 kids? He needs to support
I mean, he's fighting
them.
just because he needs money. I mean, the only thing is that truthfully, I don't think Alex Morono is a very good fighter. I don't think Morono is the type. I mean,
he doesn't always go out there to kill you. He just goes out there to win and fight smart. And unfortunately,
he has to fight smart. He really doesn't do. I mean, he doesn't do much. I mean, like Alex Morono. I mean, his biggest score came on a slate where I don't know what UFC stats was think. I mean, he put up 200 strikes that I just had. You have to watch the fight again and wonder where all those strikes came from. But outside of that, Morono, in 3-round decisions, scores 50 points. So, if I'm going to play an underdog against someone that may fight that slow, why not? Who knows? Nico Price could win a dusty split decision, or Morono's chin ain't there. I mean, Morono's been. I mean, obviously, Nico Price literally knocked out Alex Morono 6 years ago. So
no contest. He smoked a little bit of dope. Okay, a little weed, So it's not going to show. But yes, he did knock him out. Both guys got a knockdown in that fight as well. So it shows that they could go back to war here. But we have in chat, is it a bad move to play Strickland and Costa in the same lineup?
on this slate, you know me, I'm not a big fan of stacking fights. Obviously, not stacking 3-round fights. But
why not?
I mean, if it goes 5 rounds and it's a high volume fight and no other underdog wins, I mean, I mean, Strickland at 8,800 scores 115 points. Costa scores 65 or so, and there you go. But I mean, also understand that there will be a whole bunch of lineups that do stack that fight, because like that would be like your cash game type of construction. I don't think I think it's much more viable in small field than in large field. But normally I'm the person that's like, as a heuristic, never stack a 5-round fight in GPP. If this was a 15 fight card, I wouldn't consider it because you have so many more options. But I don't think it's crazy on this slate. I mean, I talked about it with Squirrel Patrol yesterday. I said in his 15 entry live final, I don't think it's that. I think it's a fairly smart move to possibly just not play Makhachev and stack the Strickland Costa fight, and then just find 4 wins and you're good, and you probably win the lifeline.
100%, I agree. That one definitely has the safer floor. My problem is, like, what if Costa has Matt Burn on his feet? Everyone thinks it's Staff. What if he goes in there and he wants more Matt Burn? He goes in for takedowns. Just saying that makes him a better play, if anything. The next thing you were talking about was the middle range there, the Phil Rowe, Zaleski Dos Santos. I feel like there's finish equity, but the floor of these particular fights, Rowe and Zaleski Dos Santos, those 2 fights, I'm terrified of the floor, because neither those fights are going to have a lot of pace to them. But the first and second round, you can get bailed out even with a second round finish, I think, out of either of those 2 fights. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, I mean, these are the closest fights on the card, and we're struggling for, like, getting 6 wins means something. So, like, if I could save 500, 600 and play the underdog side versus the favorite side, I mean, if it fits in my lineup, I'm fine. I'm not a fan of these fights I'm literally I
don't
think
like them at all.
Randy Brown, Dos Santos, and Matthews, Rowe, and Kopylov, Almeida. I think the likelihood, the most probable outcomes is all 3 of these fights go the distance, and none of these fighters score more than like 85 points. And it's quite possible, especially if an underdog wins, that none of these guys make the optimal lineup. And then also you have to decide which side of the fight wins. So it's not if it was one of these mid-range fights where it's like the chances of it ending in the first round is like -500, it'd be like, okay, I know at least one person scoring 100. So feel free to pick. I don't know which one it's going to be. I just get a sense, unless Jake Matthews decides to wrestle, which we've wanted for God knows how long, and that's probably doesn't happen again. Randy Brown ain't going to do it, and Randy Brown plays with his food too much, so that could end up being, a decision.
But those are the 2 that I'm saying is, like, I'm terrified because Matthews never really scores. I think that fight goes to the clinch against the cage, and they do the typical Phil Rowe and they hug each other against the cage. Maybe there's a takedown, but that just negates scoring. And like you said, if one of the underdogs wins, hell, if Costa does what we just said, it makes those guys just not be that valuable. So I have a feeling that there's somebody, though, that you like that we haven't talked about yet. And he once choked.
I think I said before, I think
you Holland,
quote, sneaky. I don't think he's going to be 28% owned. I think Kevin Holland at 9,000. I think Olajaychuk's chance of winning this fight is like Hail Mary first round knockout type of thing. Holland's known for playing with his food, right? He's known for trash talking. He's known for, you're going around doing whatever, but like, he's not a grappler, but I mean, he's a great, once it's on the mat, like I think a good bet is Holland via submission, because Olajaychuk has like no ground game whatsoever. That I think if Holland wanted to, he could just submit Olajaychuk whenever the hell he wants. And if that happens early, I mean, he's -135 inside the distance. I think Holland has as much upside as the guys above him in the 9K range. He just has a smaller window in order to hit that. And it's not necessarily, I mean, he could also knock out Olajaychuk as well. It's not like he has much of a chin. But like Almeida, Hafez, Dawson, and Makachev, they have like, if the fight extends because they grapple so much and wrestle so much, their floor ceiling combination starts going up that you feel there are multiple paths. Holland winning in the third round via submission after boxing for 2 rounds ain't scoring 100 points. So
No,
like
you're looking
he
to
has
him to
that
get it.
window in there to score more than everyone above him. And I don't think his owners. I really don't think he's going to be 28% owned. I think it'll be
But
more
Mikey
like
O is higher owned for an underdog, which is to me a little bit surprising. Mikey O
well,
is
because
a
people
guy
are
who
struggling for underdogs. I mean, like try putting together a lineup. You're always down in that range, and you go, "Who the hell do I play?" I think
it's
maybe
terrifying.
is this a hot take? Is this a hot take, Mike? I wouldn't be shocked. I think it's not a high percentage outcome that Joe Selecki knocks out Grant Dawson.
No,
I think that's maybe the only way he wins that fight.
Maybe because I'm not that surprised by that take because I'm in the MMA world. I think the normal person should be shocked by that. But
I wouldn't be shocked if Grant Dawson got knocked out by the inspector before he hits the ring. I mean, right? I mean, Grant
they're
Dawson
holding
has a
him back.
minus 600. I mean, but Grant Dawson is a minus 600 favorite. How do you bet that? Like, how do you bet on Grant Dawson at that price?
But against Joe Selecki, it's great matchmaking. I'll give him that. But it also could be just a boring fight because of Selecki, right? Selecki, yeah, I mean, he just can backpack you. That's about it. And I feel like if it's a BJJ match, Dawson should win out, like you said. It's just 9,300. That price is just so damn elevated. I almost wish that Dawson was like flipped with, I don't know, one of those mid-range guys. It's just too much.
It's the fight I have the least of. In my 60 lineups, I barely have. I have more Selecki than Dawson, but I mean, we're talking about the difference of like, I got like 2 Dawson lineups and 4 Selecki lineups. So it's not like I have much of anything. And I only have more Selecki because like, you got to pick someone down there. I mean, I just think that unless Dawson completely obliterates Selecki, meaning it's the type of match where Selecki chooses to like pull guard and go, I'm going to play 3 rounds on my back trying to get a submission. Because in those cases, that means the guy on top is just scoring fantasy points galore. So, like, I could see the outcome being that. But if this stays on its feet, I mean, I don't trust Dawson's chin, right? He could get knocked out, but I also don't think Joe Selecki's the one to do it. That's why he's plus 850 inside the distance.
He just got slam knocked out. Let's just remember at somewhat high elevated ownership, he's the guy that got slammed and was deaded. But let me get this ad read in before we get out of here. And then I'm going to ask you one question that I think will be interesting because we talked about a guy. I'm interested in how much ownership you have in him. But there's never been a better time to sign up for RotoGrinders Premium with NBA, PGA, NHL, MMA, and MLB. Also, WNBA is out there. I don't know if you've been grinding it, but I like those niche sports. We've got any option covered, whatever level you're looking for. Get yourself a 6-month combo subscription at an exclusive $469.99. That's a savings of $250 instead of buying 6 individual months of combo premium. You can also get your first month of RG Premium for $40 off for a limited time. Those that want to test the waters before buying can dip their toes in with a 3-day pass, $19.99. Check the link in the description for those offers. And the question I'm asking you is how much Dustin Poirier? I mean, we beat around the bush. Yes.
Or what do I think his ownership's going to be?
I want to know what you have first because I think the ownership's going to be lower than 20%. I just don't think people get it.
It's going to be lower. My projected ownership on Poirier is 17, and I have him in 8 out of 60 lineups. So 13%.
But is that more so construction? Lineup construction? Okay.
I mean, these are constructions where if this fight gets extended by any amount, I mean, these are all like one big underdog lineups where I'm like playing, you know, like I see here, my highest rated lineup with them is like Almeida, Strickland, Perez, Brown, Kopylov, Poirier. Like I'm just going all the way down and then way down and then hope for a miracle. Or it's quite possible that if those 5, like in the lineup, are the 5 highest scoring fighters, that Poirier's like if Poirier gets to the third round and has like 28 points, maybe that's optimal. I mean, like, it's not.
There's a world.
There's also a world where 4 or 5 underdogs win this slate, and like a lineup that leaves 2K on the table. That's not very likely. But obviously, there's a small percentage of the time that it does happen. I think struggling for it. This slate is a struggle.
Oh yeah,
for underdogs.
I mean, I can't wait until Roman Kopylov scores like 3 takedowns in the first, finishes Almeida with, 4:30 into the first round, and we're all like, "What the Kopylov highest score?" That's just one of those slates. I just, like you said, the smaller field, people will go towards Almeida, Cesar Almeida. I keep saying Almeida.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very tricky slate, and I do like that we have a lot of grapplers, but I also there's just so many guys that I feel like there's going to be one where it's like, why did they just kickbox for 3 rounds? Right? We're going to see some.
I don't think Jalton is doing that. I don't think
No.
Jalton cares. I think Jalton's game plan is always, I'm coming in and I'm taking you down. And I think Hafez is kind of the same way. I think Hafez is not like, well, I'm going to just box with Mickey Gall. He seems like the type that, like, nope, just smothering takedowns and whatever. To me, the dumbest person is going to be Grant Dawson, right? That just decides that he's going to have a boxing match, right? Like that. That's why I look at that and I go, okay, he's the one. Eileen Perez is going for takedowns.
That's what I was just going to say. My 2 sneaky things. I like Perez. I like Lima. Those 2 are the ones to get you off of those exact pieces we were just talking about. It gets you off the Dawson, Hafiz, Almeida. Those seem to be the important ones. And it starts off the night too early with Andre Lima. UCL final today, by the way. I got a ticket in my account. I know.
I'm not playing. I have no idea. It's
you're the soccer guy. No,
Real Madrid.
I don't even know. I'm like, I gotta ask Blender what the hell it's about.
Just look at our projections. We got projections. Just to, spit out a showdown line.
We'll be doing that after this, but we go on. It's every single week, Blender. Next week, 14 fights. I don't know what we have going on.
Next week, they're in my neck of the woods. They're here in Louisville.
No way. And you got Cannonier versus Imavov. Ooh, elite matchmaking there. It's like the state of MMA. I never thought that Imavov would be main eventing multiple fights. But you know what's crazy?
It's Louisville. They don't care about Louisville. Louisville doesn't care anyway. I'm not paying $300 a ticket to go see that card and sit in the 300s. Are you kidding me?
Makes a lot of sense. But UFC 302 this week, we certainly hope one of the RotoGrinders wins if it's not one of us. And thank you for Steve producing this show. It's on you, Steve. You got to bring it down 100,000 plus. It's the TJ has done it. Now it's on you to bring it home. Thank you guys. We will see you guys next week.